Hello, Dreamcatchers, and welcome to the Writer's Haven. I am your host, Helena, and today, Season 1 guest author Sharon Lucas is back to discuss her book, Planet, the complete resource guide for authors, book clubs, and literary event planners. And she's also going to discuss the upcoming Black Authors and Readers Rock Weekend event. You may have seen our promo for this event on all of the Haven social media sites because it's an important event. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Let me, without further ado, welcome author and BARR organizer Sharon Lucas.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Haven, Sharon. Welcome back, I should say.
Yes.
And you know what? I think you were our third guest in season 1. Oh my gosh, we've had 23 shows.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
23 shows.
Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you very much. We're very, very excited about season 2 and having you back to talk about not only the book, because admittedly, there were some things that I wanted to ask you the first time I interviewed you that I didn't get a chance to ask, or I just didn't think about asking. So I'm really going to dive in to the whole book club scene this time around. And I definitely want to talk about your BARR Weekend event because the buzz is a miss. And, you know, we really want to make sure that people understand the importance of it and will make a point of being there. So let's start by, why don't you just tell me why book clubs are so important?
Book clubs are important for many, many reasons. And I would tell you, going back, book clubs go back as far as the 1800s. They were the way that slaves learned to read. One person in the community would learn to read, and then they got together. They didn't call them book clubs, but they were certainly the precursor to today's book clubs. And so there's a long and rich history, especially in the Black community, about book clubs and getting together, sewing circles, all of those things.
Okay, so when did the modern day book club become organized? And is it kind of like a national association of book clubs that just kind of evolved, and then you just have all of these other clubs?
Helena, I would tell you they never stopped, but what happened was Oprah.
Okay.
With Oprah and the Oprah's Book Club, Terry McMillan coming forth with Stella Got Her Groove Back, everything changed. People became interested in reading again. Book clubs got a huge resurgence. And I would tell you that's exactly why I started my book club.
Okay, so let's talk about your book club. You decided to start the Reading Divas book club in what year?
1998.
1998. And what prompted you?
Oprah's Book Club.
Okay.
You know, everybody was talking about Oprah, and Go On Girls had been founded, and Terry was out there, and all of a sudden, there were Black authors to read. Because many book clubs like mine, we primarily read African American authors.
Okay.
But there are book clubs in every ethnic group.
Right. No, I totally get Oprah's book club and how her start of that probably really synergized the whole idea of people coming together, reading books and talking about them. But as far as your personal commitment to starting a book club and starting the Reading Divas book club, where did that?
I don't think I ever would have started had it not been for Oprah's book club.
Okay.
And I think that there are a lot of book club leaders, founders who would say the same thing. We read, but we read at home.
Individually.
We read individually. And all of a sudden, Oprah opened it up for us that we could have a sisterhood, that we could get together and read. The reading was wonderful, but discussing it and hearing other points of view and really tearing the book apart, it brought just a whole new element to reading, because I've always read.
Okay, so for our younger viewers who may not be familiar with the Oprah Book Club, and so when you say it, I get what you're saying, but what is it about her book club that was so impactful?
It's not necessarily her book club, but just the fact that she synergized people. That it just became people look forward to who the next book was going to be. And groups began to emerge based around what she was recommending.
Okay, okay. So you're partnering with the East Coast readers for the BARR Weekend event. Do book clubs usually join forces to do those kinds of?
If they're smart.
Okay.
Okay, and I say that the East Coast readers, let me explain. I have two sister book club presidents, one in New Jersey and one in New York, both of whom have had events in their home states and events that I actually helped. You know, I went, I supported, whatever. I asked them this year, because neither of them were having events, to help me. So the East Coast readers are actually the Reading Divas of the DMV,
Okay.
Sugar and Spice Book Club of New York, and another book club out of New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay. And so by partnering with all of these different book clubs and bringing this event and the others that you mentioned, how does that synergy, to use your word,
extends your reach.
it extends your reach?
It extends your reach. Because if I am just recruiting in Maryland, I'm never going to grow my audience. If they're just recruiting in New Jersey, if those are the only people who come to their events, they're not really growing their events either. So this way, they're taking my promos to New York and to New Jersey, and their book clubs are coming. And they're even talking about actually chartering a bus to bring people from their area. So we hope that it's going to be a good partnership. And maybe, we have not decided, but we are talking about taking BARR to the New York area next year.
Oh, wonderful. That would be great. So, you know, because I always believe that, okay, let's say, well, Tina McElroy Anza is one of my absolute favorite authors.
Okay.
And if I went to her website and it shows, you know, these are the events that Tina is going to be appearing at. And so I would go to follow the author. But it sounds like there are readers and also maybe aspiring authors or authors who are maybe not at the same level as those who are going to be actually participating in the event. But it sounds as though there's that group who are going to these book club conferences because there's like a whole nother dynamic with being a member of a book club and going to these events. Is that right?
And I think that you will, if you haven't witnessed it, I know that you're going to the National Book Club Conference in Atlanta the first week in August. You will witness just a phenomenal time. And you're not going to find a lot of individual readers there. You're going to find book clubs. They're going to have their book club shirts on. I mean, they're going to rah-rah because it is the National Book Club Conference. And so, yes, a lot of people follow events that way, yes.
Okay, okay. That's interesting. So what are some of the golden nuggets in your book, Planet, that you believe are paramount in planning a literary event? I mean, this BARR weekend is going to be a huge, huge event. You're expecting a lot of people.
Well,
you know,
the first thing is you have to give yourself time. I start when we walk out on September 15th and BARR 2018 is over. I am already planning 2019. I'm already thinking about where it's going to be, who the keynote speaker is, and so on and so forth. You really have to give yourself plenty of time to find the right hotel, to find the right keynote speaker. So time and pre-planning is just two of the most important things I tell any event planner.
okay. Do you think there are some special skills that a person should have to pull off those kinds of events, or even to just be the president of a book club?
You asked me about this. I'm rewriting my book, and I kind of touched on that today in the book, that you have to just take your time. You have to be patient. There are qualities that I feel a book club president has to have. You have to be a leader. You have to let people know how you feel. You have to be, in my previous life, I'll put it that way, I was a human resources manager. And I couldn't believe when I moved into book clubs how many of those skills I needed. If you don't know how to listen, if you don't know how to listen more than you talk, if you don't know how to know that there's something going on and Sally's not happy and Jane isn't speaking and whatever, you just really need very, very good people skills in order to keep a book club together.
Okay. I mean, it actually sounds like traits of leadership.
Absolutely.
Of what you're describing.
Because you are a leader. You're setting an example. If I go to my book club meeting every month, I'm late, I haven't read the book, you're discussing the book and I'm chatting with the person next to me, I'm not setting a good example. A book club leader reads the book, goes prepared to discuss the book, doesn't chat during the discussion, really sets an example so that the members of the club really understand what they're there for. It's not about the food and the mimosas and the sangria. It's about talking about the book.
But you know, it also seems to be a culture.
Absolutely.
What should we even say, lifestyle? No.
I think that some are more extreme than others.
Okay.
Okay, I think that there are some people who live and breathe book clubs.
Right.
And some people probably say that I do. Well, I don't really feel that I do, but when I'm in that mode, I'm in that mode.
Right. And, you know, I guess just to put it in simpler terms that people may get is, you know, the people who follow Star Trek, for example, they're the Trekkies. So that's a very specialized group, and that's a culture in itself.
Absolutely.
So, and that's kind of, I don't know if this is the right way to look at it, but that is kind of the way that I view book clubs. I've attended a couple of book club meetings for other authors, and I've just kind of observed it. And just hearing them talk about other events or things they're doing, you know, they wanted to, at this particular event I went to, they wanted to get a memoir writer for their next meeting. And I mean, it was just very intense, but it was also a great time to just kind of share in the sisterhood that you mentioned.
And book clubs do great things. I have a couple Facebook pages. I have a Facebook page that's called the BC Alliance, Book Club Presidents Alliance. And it's really a safe zone where if they're having problems, they can come on and talk to me about them. They can ask, how do you handle this? You know, and we have almost 300 members. And so when you really have a problem, your sister book club presidents are going to come on and tell you, well, I had that problem, and this is how I handled it, and so on and so forth. And I have 300 people on my page, and that's a drop in the bucket.
Compared to
numbers, really what's out there.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a culture, it's a sisterhood, it's like a sorority of sorts.
Yes.
Okay. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about starting a book club?
The advice I would give now is very different than the advice I would have given even 2 or 3 years ago. But the first thing you really, really want to do is recruit readers, not your best friend.
Okay, why is that important?
Because your best friend may not be a reader. She may just come because you've invited her and she is your best friend. But she could become the worst member in the club because she's really not interested in reading. She's interested in being your friend. And if being your friend means belonging to your book club, then she comes. But she doesn't add to the club. So you want to invite her. You want to tell her, I know you don't enjoy reading the way I do. The door is always open, but you don't want to pressure her to come.
Right.
If you don't have readers, you just don't have much of a club.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the primary
The primary
advice
is
then.
to recruit readers, not to ask them, when was the last time you went to a book club event? What was the last book you read?
Read, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I found in my research on book clubs that there are some publishers that have book clubs, and they post, I guess, books on their page.
Okay.
How influential are publishers and using the example of Oprah's book club, how influential are those advocates of particular books? How influential are they to the readers who are looking for books to read?
I think that has changed a lot. 10 years ago, when things were really popping, you could call a publisher and you could get 100 books for an event. Or, something along, you're not seeing that anymore. You're mostly seeing promos. You're not seeing a lot of book giveaways. But they want you to know they're there. I run a page on Facebook for Brown Girls Publishing. But we don't just limit who I interview on that page to Brown Girls authors. We interview any author who wants to be interviewed or anyone that I think is really popping right now. So all of them have them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I noticed particularly, I think it was Doubleday, Random House, they had a whole bunch of books. I'm not sure if I would read any of them. That's not to say that it's not good literature, but just not necessarily in the genres that I was looking for. They were selling them for like $2.99, some really, really low price to encourage people to buy them. And I'm sure they were, best-selling books. But to segue into my next question, many of the books were not written by African-American authors.
Okay.
And I would suffice to say that they probably weren't necessarily books that talked about African-American themes.
Okay.
So I want to ask you the question of, would you say that it's important to promote those books by African-American authors and African-American themes, or is it more important to focus on good literature? And that's not to say that, those authors, African-American authors, don't write good literature, but, what should be the focus?
In a book club, it depends on what the book club wants to focus on.
Okay.
My book club, we say we primarily read African-American authors, but we will read any good literature. Some book clubs don't extend themselves that way. Some will only read African-American authors. I think it's important to read good literature. And so that has always been the focus of my club. But I also know that African-American authors need all the support we can give them. But maybe you have to decide on which African-American authors you're going to support. I don't support street literature. You'll come to an event that I put on and there might not be one urban fiction author there because we don't read urban fiction. People kind of know that about me, so they don't really support me. And that's fine because I don't support them either. So I do think that good literature is important, but I also think that it's important to support emerging authors, new authors, who may write that really good literature in another 5 years.
Okay, and does your book club read fiction and nonfiction of all genres?
We don't read nonfiction.
Don't read nonfiction. Okay, but there are book clubs that do, maybe?
There are book clubs who read a little bit of anything. It just depends on the focus of the club. We decided that we were not going to do anything to cause fights.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, just to keep it simple. We don't read religious. Not that we don't read Christian authors, but we don't read self-help, that sort of thing. We come together to have fun. And if you're not having fun at your book club, then you need another book club. You have to have fun because there has to be a reason for me to get dressed on Sunday and go and sit around with 12 other women. There just has to be a reason. If you're not having fun, then why go?
So let's spend some time talking about the BARR weekend. When and where will it be held this year?
The BARR weekend will be held September 14th and 15th in Oxon Hill, Maryland at the Harborside Hotel.
Okay.
Okay.
And I think the last time you were here, you talked about how the BARR weekend came to be. Could you go over that again?
Well, we actually started out having a brunch, the Reading Divas. We had a brunch to celebrate our 10th anniversary. And after doing that for 5 years, I realized that it wasn't enough. You know, readers wanted really more than 4 or 5 hours. And that kind of grew in to the Black Authors and Readers Rock Weekend. And it's just a weekend where we celebrate Black literature.
So at the brunch then, the kickoff of that weekend, there was an author there.
Mary Monroe, we brought her from California. She was our first keynote speaker. And we had 8 or 9 local authors. And we had brunch. And we did that, like I said, for several years.
Wow, okay. And it's evolved into this two-day literary event. And this is the fifth year of the event. So who's going to be there? Who's some of the authors that we should be looking out for?
Well, this year our keynote is Lolita Fowles. We will be honoring Tina Elroy Anza on Friday night. I always think that it's important to bring an author in who has written great things, but really isn't doing very much anymore. Or I shouldn't put it that way, because 2 years ago we honored Donna Hill. Donna Hill has been in the business for 25, almost 30 years. Started writing True Confessions.
Oh, wow.
And Donna will be with us this year. In fact, she'll be doing a workshop for us this year with Renee Flagler. We have a men's panel on Friday night. That's always hot.
Tell us about that.
That is Brian Smith, Victor McLaughlin, Keith Thomas Walker, and Blacktop.
Okay.
Okay. So we're just a good mix of people who have been around a while and new and emerging authors.
Are there any special tributes or honors that's going to?
Other than Tina? And Victoria Christopher Murray will be with us Friday night. We're not honoring her, but I'm bringing her in to actually introduce the tribute for Tina.
Okay, and that's just to recognize her years of great literature. And I think she's actually teaching. She has her own class that she has students come in and she teaches that. So she's still very busy and still inspiring people.
Oh, absolutely.
To write.
And we start the conference every year with a book club meeting. And so she is the author for the book club meeting. We will be reading and reviewing Ugly Ways.
Ugly Ways.
Yes.
Okay. So I think you said you start planning a year in advance.
Absolutely.
So for those who are thinking about planning literary events, that's the advice that you give them, to start early. You know, pre-planning is important. The things that you said
pre-planning is important. I'm not going to necessarily say having a theme, but you really have to have a date in mind, have a place in mind, begin to think about your keynote. You know, go and look at the hotels. Don't call. Go and look at them and decide where you want to have your event. Reach out to the authors that you want. At least you're featured in your keynote to make sure that the dates are meshing. The vendors, they're going to come.
Right.
But you really have to tie down your keynote and your featured authors.
Okay. And how were you able to get reputable authors to sign on for the event? And so these are all questions I'm thinking that those who are thinking about putting on these kinds of events mean?
I personally think that you have to have a track record, and it has to be a good track record. I can't tell you how many authors have said to me after the event, I've never been to an event that was so well organized. You really want to pay attention to detail. And you want people to feel welcome, but you really have to take care of them, if that makes sense.
No.
You can't say that your expo is going to open at 9 and people are standing at the door and you don't open until 11. You have to keep the communication open between you and your authors and just make it the best that you possibly can.
Okay.
But you have to be a man or woman of your word.
Very important in anything you do.
Yeah, you really do. If you say that, whatever it is, it just doesn't matter. But you have to commit, stay with that commitment, and make it work.
Okay. Final thoughts. Any projects on the horizon?
I am remixing Planet because I've changed. Not necessarily, I think that I've changed. I think that literature has changed. I think that publishing has changed. Everything has changed. And when you write a book like this that kind of is an instruction kind of book, I think that you have to go back and look at it.
Right.
And in this case, I think that it's important enough to re-say, remix, and do it again.
Okay, well, Sharon, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on planning literary events and book clubs in general, and definitely the information on the BARR weekend is awesome. I mean, people definitely go to your website to get more information. And what is that website?
BlackAuthorsAndReadersRock.com. It is working now. It was not for a while.
Okay.
But you can always reach out to me at Sharon@SharonRLucas.com.
Okay. I hope you enjoyed our discussion on the importance of book clubs and may have been inspired to start one. I also hope to see you at the upcoming BARR Weekend event, which is sure to inspire and get those writer juices flowing. Don't forget to hit us up on social media or catch missed episodes on our YouTube, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Sonos, Alexa, SoundCloud, and Spotify channels. Just search for us under the title The Writer's Haven Show with Helena and subscribe so you'll never miss a show. See you next time in the Haven, and until then, catch fire on top.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.